This is getting way out of hand. A lot to go over here. The Eagles released a wide receiver. The Eagles apparently have interest in wide receivers and have made calls for a top wide receiver. I don't know why. And we have a lot to go over on Fangio's press conference. Michael Clay, the special teams coordinator, a lot going on, and another defensive player getting more opportunity this week. A lot going on here. So let's get straight into all the news.
A killer buried, but not dead.
Darren, we better turn around. Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
This video is sponsored by BetUS. It has been a rough road for the Philadelphia Eagles this season for all Eagle fans. Will the Eagles rise to the occasion or continue to play down to the competition? If I'm going all in, giving it my all for a Super Bowl, I'm going to bet $500 and get $7,000 back at the end of the year, and we still stay true to the team that we believe in. But will the problems continue? We will find out. Make sure to check out BetUS. Get a 150% deposit bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000 with promotion code YouTube150. I want to thank BetUS for sponsoring this live stream or video, and let's get back to the content. All right, so a lot to discuss regarding the Philadelphia Eagles today, and every time it's the trade deadline, every time we're close to this moment, there's always these rumors being flown around like crazy. But let's get to the obvious news that happened within the Eagles this week and some of the moves that they did make regarding the roster to the practice squad, some of that stuff. Now, Paris Campbell has been released from the Philadelphia Eagles. I think he's only had, 4 to 6 catches, 30-something yards and a touchdown. Paris Campbell seemed like he was the leading receiver at wide receiver 3 this past offseason. He got hurt, and then finally, the Eagles make a trade for Jahan Dotson, then Campbell comes back. So, Britton Covey gets hurt. So there was a whole bunch of stuff that was going on here. So why the move for Paris Campbell to be released? Why did they make this move? Well, I think part of it, too, is that Ainias Smith is going to come back into the lineup. It seems like maybe the Eagles feel a lot better about Ainias Smith. And Ainias Smith, man, a fifth round pick for the Eagles. The open field demon, I used to call him, at Texas A&M. I think that's the school he went to. And, just really had a bad offseason program. Didn't like his returns as a punt returner. Didn't really like his vision. I don't know if something was going on in his life during the offseason program, if there was some personal stuff going on, but he just looked like his head was not really in it. He was one of the bigger type blogger, a vlogger for the Eagles. He had his own YouTube channel. He did a lot of content and stuff in the offseason. I don't know what happened to him. He ended up getting hurt. He missed a lot of time. He got into some preseason games. He just didn't look good at all. So could that be the move? Maybe they want Ainias Smith back, and they want him back on the active roster. I don't know what's going on with that. But Paris Campbell leaving is definitely eye-opening. Jahan Dotson still here. Britton Covey is still hurt. Should be coming back relatively soon. So I'm really thinking that maybe this is an open thing for, Ainias Smith coming back. A few other moves the Eagles did make. John Ross was placed on the practice squad injury list. Then the Eagles signed defensive back Tariq Castro-Fields to the practice squad. Tariq Castro-Fields is another 49ers player that plays DB, I think a hybrid player. So they signed him to the practice squad. John Ross came back and didn't really he played in, I guess maybe he got snaps in the game, and I guess he got injured again. I don't know. So John Ross came to stay off the injury list at this point. Receiver is interesting right now with Paris Campbell. You're taking a veteran presence out of the lineup, which is kind of interesting. With Covey already out, Now, the trade deadline, and this still connects to wide receiver, because why is everything I read, every time there's a receiver available, whether it's Amari Cooper or it's somebody else that's out there, Devontae Adams, every receiver that was available always seems to be connected to the Philadelphia Eagles in some way. I don't know. I'm seeing reports on DeAndre Hopkins. Why? Makes no sense. And then I see an actual report with wording, okay, An actual report from Works says breaking the Rams are open to trading all-pro receiver Cooper Kupp. New York Times first reports multiple teams have recently made calls regarding Kupp. Okay, connect to the Chiefs, the Steelers, and the Eagles. LA seems to be taking on salary to facilitate a trade. So whatever money that Cooper Kupp is owed for this season, seems like the Rams are going to take care of that, so it makes the trade a lot more simple, more easy to happen. Cooper Kupp just been hurt so much. I don't even know if he's even played this year at all. I haven't followed the Rams. I know the Eagles have to face the Rams this year. I know nothing about what's going on with him. Okay, at 30 years old, barely can get on the field right now. We know the talent that he does have. If the Rams are taking on all of his money for this year to make this trade happen, what are they asking for? But then at the end of the day, it's like you trade for Jahan Dotson for what, a third and a seventh. You're not even using him right now, which, I mean, they gave him one target on that fucking vertical pass against the Giants, and that was pretty much it. It's already been like 7 weeks for Jahan Dotson, and they don't even get him involved. But this isn't a first for the Philadelphia Eagles. Because wide receiver 3 is such a bad position for the Eagles right now, I don't think it's really talent, because I think Olamide Zaccheaus could have been a big player for us, and they didn't use him. Obviously, Quez Watkins, had his chances, and just, with injury on top of it, not being that reliable receiver for the Eagles, especially in that 22 Super Bowl where it went right through his hands, and he just wasn't that guy you can count on in the big moments and can't handle the big moments. So Quez was just a very up and down player with his time in Philadelphia. And now the Eagles have all this trade rumor speculation on another wide receiver coming to Philadelphia. Can Cooper Kupp be an upgrade? Sure. Can DeAndre Hopkins be an upgrade as a 3? Sure. But time and time again, the Eagles just don't care about this position at all. I think this is like the new redheaded stepchild position the Eagles just don't care about. I don't think it's necessarily Nick, but I know with Kellen Moore with the Chargers last year, he got every receiver involved. The wide receiver 3s were definitely involved. I don't know why the Eagles hate, and I understand, like, you have your first option, your second option, and Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. Then it's Dallas Goedert, who isn't really playing right now, okay, because he's injured. You have another option in, obviously, Saquon Barkley, which is one of our biggest weapons for this year. So you have a third option and maybe a fourth option. And Jalen Hurts is going to run with the football in his hands, and he counts as another weapon within himself. So could they realistically have interest at wide receiver? Is this the most important thing? Give me a damn edge rusher in this building. This way, at least if you have someone competent on the edge, I know they're coming off of an 8-sack game. I get that. You're not going to get that every single game. And this way, you don't have to run those 5-man fronts. And really, as much as I like Zach Baun going after the quarterback and lining up on the line, we need him in coverage as well because he's our best linebacker. And I don't want him to be wasted on the line with Nakobe Dean really the only one back there. Obviously Fangio has made some really good adjustments. The defense seems to be growing by the week, and I feel like this makes no sense to me. This just makes no sense. If the Eagles make a trade like this, then I'm really going to question, like, if they feel like Cooper Kupp is, low risk, high reward because he's been injured so much, and if they feel like they can get him healthy, get him on the field, they feel like they could be unstoppable, which, yeah, Cooper Kupp in the slot would be absolutely amazing. And if you have a receiver go down when you're 2 receivers and Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, boom, he slides right in there. But I just have an issue with putting a guy in a number 3 spot and they don't even target him. Why trade for Jahan Dotson and then go trade for another wide receiver? Now Jahan Dotson is going to be like the number 4 at this point. I just have no answers for it. It makes no sense. Why the Eagles name every receiver? I swear to God, search up a receiver's name that is connected to being traded, and I'm guaranteeing you that the Eagles are involved some way or another. They are involved with this whole entire thing. I don't get it. Please make it make sense for me. Okay? If the Eagles, didn't have Jahan Dotson, no Britton Covey, because of injury, I get it. But because you have Jahan Dotson right now you release Paris Campbell, which that move I'm kind of like about. So it's making me think that either they're making room for somebody or I don't know. Because Sidney Brown played last week on special teams. You know, DeJean is back fully now. I don't know what they're doing. Bradbury's coming back in a couple weeks. There's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of returnees, and some other things happening soon. I don't know what's going on, but this, I am going back and forth on it. I know I don't make any sense, but this just makes absolutely no sense. Sure, is it an upgrade? Yes, but why give up the picks you gave up for Jahan Dotson? Looking like you literally just got fleeced from that trade from Washington. And I know Jahan Dotson has the talent, but was Washington right? Was Dan Quinn right about Jahan Dotson just not having any, like, you know, he thought he deserved the job and he wouldn't fight for the job, like all this attitude, this attitude problem that apparently Jahan Dotson had is definitely something to think about now. I don't know, but then I think about the last few years, what wide receiver 3 has been successful really since Nelson Aguilar, realistically. I mean, Quez Watkins had his games and had his moments, but, you know, I don't know, man. It's very confusing to me why this is even the case, why the Eagles are even connected to this. And if they are, and this is realistic, then I could see why they're doing. If it's for Cooper Kupp, I could see why they're doing it, because it's like, oh my God, just imagine, like, we can have him in the building for a couple years on top of what we have. He won't cost us anything. It won't cost much because he's been injured. There's a lot on it. You know, he really needs to fight for, you know, another contract. And I don't know. I guess I could see both sides to it, but it just, with the Jahan Dotson, if the Jahan Dotson trade did not happen, then realistically I could see maybe they add something here. If Jahan Dotson was never a Philadelphia Eagle and Britton Covey was hurt right now, okay, and when he is hurt, I guess. I don't know. But what picks are you going to give up? You're worried about the offense more than the defense right now? The offense I'm barely worried about. I'm worried about coaching and and play calling and all that stuff. Getting this quarterback into a rhythm, and I'm worried about the coaching more than what we have on the roster offensively. You know, this is just kind of crazy right now. No, I'm going back and forth, but let it make sense here. Now, we had the press conference between Vic Fangio. We had Michael Clay. Now, Fangio, interesting enough, wasn't much, talk about some of the players, but I think Nolan Smith was a big one because we really saw that Georgia Bulldog connection, the chemistry with Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith next to each other. It just seemed to have worked so well. Now, Fangio did talk about Nolan Smith, saying Nolan Smith got a sack on a power rush, which he said was good because he's not the biggest guy as an edge rusher. Also said rookie Jalyx Hunt could work his way into rotation. About freaking time. Jalyx Hunt coming back, getting to the right. He had that strip sack when pretty much after the Giants held up the white flag, they put Drew Lock in the game and pretty much subbed out a lot of guys. I mean, come on now. Jalyx Hunt, he had a good offseason. Even if Fangio said in the offseason program in training camp, he said, I'm really surprised how far Jalyx Hunt has come. I mean, this is a guy that had a visit with the Philadelphia Eagles. He had a pre-draft visit, okay? And, Jalyx Hunt is a really good, I think, as a better scheme fit for this passive scheme. This guy is probably going to be one of the better defensive ends that's good coming off coverage. He can cover tight ends. He can cover running backs on wheel routes. I mean, I saw it all in the preseason games. Jalyx Hunt was fantastic. I just want to see more in a pass rush sequence with him. That Tampa Bay game where he was in for 5 snaps, blew up that tight end and blew up that play. Give me more of that. Give me more Jalyx Hunt. Maybe you don't have to go after an edge rusher. Add Jalyx Hunt to the mix and get him working now. Get him into the rotation. I've always rooted for this. They just never did it. Why Jalyx Hunt? All these great things we're talking about Jalyx Hunt in the offseason program. And yes, we're not going to talk bad about the players, but I've seen it with my own 2 eyes he's the only defensive end that could back up in coverage and actually make a play. They had Brandon Graham on Malik Neighbors. I mean, come on now. I mean, they had Josh Sweat covering Malik Neighbors, I think, like the first play of the game defensively. I mean, those guys can't cover. We know this. But I think as this was a hand-picked pick by Vic Fangio with Jalyx Hunt getting drafted. And I really liked him. A safety transition to an edge rusher, 6'2", 6'3", 252 pounds, and that guy can move like that for his size. I want to see this guy in a pass rush a lot more. I want him to get to work in the rotation, and I want to see him in coverage. And I think Jalyx Hunt is going to do a really good job. But Fangio talking about Nolan Smith, obviously, yes, being undersized. I've said this before, before training camp, I said, it would be nice if they cross-train him to outside linebacker or something, kind of use that athletic ability a little bit more to his advantage. I think that would be pretty good. But, I think, yeah, I thought he did pretty good. Yes, it's the Giants. Yes, they didn't have Andrew Thomas at left tackle. The Giants were hurting at that position. We all know this. But if Nolan Smith is beating a non-starter, it's not that bad. I mean, I'm just trying to grab as much straws right now because Nolan Smith had 2 untouched sacks in the offseason program. One where the running back chipped him into the lane, he got a free sack, and then another one when he was uncovered. I couldn't take that much. And really, Nolan Smith in the rotation this year hasn't really done much. But we know that this is a new defensive coordinator. He's taking players out of position. I think this defense is growing by the week. I said before the season started that this defense will go through its growing pains. Okay? Chemistry. Fangio needing to know his own players and how to use his own players to their strengths, putting them in those positions to be successful. I think the chemistry and the rush, and I think everything is just looking better. I think the pass rush is looking better, especially every week. It's just they're swarming a little bit more as a team. And it's just looking a little bit better as the weeks go by. So I think this is still a growing process for this defense, but it looked really, you just came off your best game with 8 sacks, which is great. And they were disruptive as hell in the pocket. So I don't care if it's against a good team or a bad team. You face you lose against the Giants and the defense does nothing. Everybody's going to be complaining. Okay, you did what you were supposed to against a bad team. Okay, and that's what the numbers should look like. 8 to 11 sacks they should have gotten this game. Okay, that's what they got. So that's where I am with it. Work in progress as the defensive line. A lot of new faces. Adding Jalyx Hunt to the mix. I don't see why not. Now, Michael Clay has a lot to answer for because special teams necessarily hasn't been good. We have had a couple blocked extra point, blocked field goal for a touchdown in the Browns game. The returns could look a little bit better. Kick returns are just different now because of just the way they're doing them now. So can't really blame too much on that. But Michael Clay did say Cooper DeJean is at punt returns. Now, Fangio actually said he hates Cooper DeJean at punt returns. I think part of it is because, you don't have anybody. I don't know why they don't use Will Shipley for punt returns or something like that. I don't know why, because I think he's very shifty. You don't want the Cooper DeJean, or you don't want to put a superstar you don't want to put a good player at that position and then take an unnecessary hit, whether it was, accidental or whatever, because then, he's out as a starter, which really sucks. Cooper DeJean had a couple really good runs, punt returns in that game against the Giants, especially one where it looked like he was in college, where he was literally had 3 or 4 guys on him near the sideline and still got out of it for another 5 to 7 yards. Absolutely amazing. I like Cooper DeJean, but Michael Clay is still putting in the factor that there could be a competition at punt return in season when Britton Covey gets hurt, when Britton Covey comes back from injury. The problem with Britton Covey is he just weighs too much. I mean, he's 180 pounds. I mean, there's nothing. You know what I mean? Covey got a shoulder injury. Covey got a shoulder injury from just getting hit before he went out of bounds. These guys that are very small, the NFL, they don't last long. And he's a guy that you got to be careful with. I liked how they've been using Covey, in the offense at wide receiver, been kind of, they were putting him in there, which I really did like. I think Covey should definitely be a 3rd down wide receiver, or, he just has full speed. Put him on a slant, make teams worry about him when he's on the field, because he's one of the fastest guys we have right now. So I don't know what they're going to do. If it was up to me, it's hard for me to take Cooper DeJean off of it because he has a little bit of size. So am I going to sacrifice all speed with Covey to a little bit less speed with Cooper DeJean, and then, letting him run and, at least balance himself, or he's not going to get injured? But at the end of the day, too, you don't want Cooper DeJean to get injured, too, on special teams, which means you lose your nickel corner for the rest of the game, which really sucks, or multiple weeks. So it's going to be interesting. At least Fangio doesn't like it, so obviously Fangio has no control over who plays special teams, obviously. So if one of his players on defense has to play special teams, Fangio just has to accept it, and that's it. Michael Clay is going in that direction. Michael Clay hasn't really wowed me this year. I thought he wowed me more last year. This year, not looking too great at special teams right now. But we'll see how this whole thing comes to fruition later on in the season. Britton Covey, Cooper DeJean, Britton Covey's going to be back sooner or later. A couple weeks to a few more weeks, he'll be back. But other than that, guys, pretty much it. We talked about the wide receiver position. Paris Campbell released. Cooper Kupp, DeAndre Hopkins, the Cooper Kupp report. Does this make any sense, guys? Is this BS? Could they actually you're seriously going to waste more draft compensation unless Cooper Kupp's not going to cost you anything in a trade? I don't know. Taking on all of his money. The Rams are doing the right thing there. But, I'm just not, I don't know if I'm there. I'm not thinking about the offense. The offensive roster is the last thing I'm thinking about. Jahan Dotson, why aren't they using him? What's going on with him? Why is he getting one throw? They're barely targeting him in these games. It's weird to me what they're doing. I don't know. But I'm sorry for this long video, long rant. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more Eagles news every single day. Make sure you like the video. It helps out the channel tremendously. Hope everyone doesn't mind the long videos because there's a lot to talk about and a lot of ranting and raving. And does things make sense? I don't know. You guys, let me know what you think about. Does the Paris Campbell release make you think, why? With Britton Covey already out, Jahan Dotson not even producing because of the way their coaching staff isn't designing plays for him at all. And would you go after a DeAndre Hopkins? Would you go after a Cooper Kupp? You let me know in the comment section below. And obviously, what did you think about this defensive line? Nolan Smith. Jalyx Hunt coming back to the rotation. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. Jalyx Hunt, please play. Please let him play a lot more. He deserves it. I want to see more. You guys have a fantastic day. I'll see you guys on the next one. Shake some up, false out. Peace out, guys. Peace.